Welcome back to ArtSphere. I'm Joey McQuillan, and for this week's new video, we'll discuss about the G scale and the key of G. At the end of the week 2 video, I wanted you to expect what to learn from next week's lesson, which is the G scale. The image I put on from last week's lesson is a little bit advanced since it uses quarter notes. So let's discuss the scale using half notes that we discussed on from week 2 and go from one note at a time. Let's break down what a scale is. A scale is basically going from the first note to a higher, even higher, or lower octave. But in our case, it's just going to be an octave higher, going from the G we've played for the second week to the G that is an octave higher, then back down to the original G. So how do we play and get from low G to high G on 100 BPM? Well, first, we warm up and prepare for each note one by one. Then do half of the scale slow on half notes. Then do the other half of the scale with half notes. First half note part will start at 80 BPM on the metronome and we'll go slowly over the notes one by one. First, we have to start with actually knowing what specific notes we need. First, we'll start with the G note. You press the top 3 keys on your saxophone and play to make the G sound. Pause any time you like to practice with any of these notes that I'm going to go over. The next is the A key, which is lifting the third finger off the G key and playing into the mouthpiece with air. The next is the B key, which you lift the second finger and keep the first finger on the B key and play, as seen in the video. After that is the C key, where instead you place the middle finger back on the middle key, but lifting up the B key finger, and thus the C key. Now we get to the octave key discussed in the last video, where but first we place all our fingers down for the D key, and then placing your thumbs directly on the octave key to get the D note, but it's an octave higher. On to the next note, we play the E key, which is just lifting the lowest key, that's the D note, and you're playing the E note. Now we go to our first ever sharp note, which is just a little bit higher than the original. So we place, instead of pressing the F key, we're going to go to the F sharp, which is just like the C key, but for lower. And then, while keeping the octave key on your thumb, we play the G key again. And then we do the reverse of that. And that's the G major scale. But we still have to go from high G to low G, and then low G to high G. Now, I'll have this time for you to go back into the video if you need to process that again. Now that we know where each key is, we can play the first half of the major scale from down to up. Let's start slowly at 80 BPM. Remember to tongue the notes one by one, and I will start singing each and every note since I do not have the mouthpiece to play the saxophone, and I can just do a little tune for it. So grab your metronome and go straight for 80 BPM. Remember, we're going to do the first half of from G to high G, all half notes, at 80 BPM. Do, 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 do. Take as much time as you need to go back and listen to it and just go overlay your own saxophone with my singing to make it a lot easier. Now, it's on to high G back into low G. Do, 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 do. Now we move on to the whole scale instead of just doing from half to half. So let's start with 80 BPM and it's still going to be half notes, but the whole entire scale. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do, 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 And once again, take your time on any sort of view playing and going back to each half to see if you can perfect it. Now that we got half notes for the whole scale, which, by the way, excellent, let's go to quarter notes. And the same BPM, and then we can go to 100 BPM, as per usual as week 2. So let's start with the metronome playing, get a rhythm of how fast each quarter note is, and then play it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do 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 do. And there you have it. The whole G scale and 80 BPM quarter notes. Awesome job getting this far. So, now that we have completely done the whole scale in 80 BPM, let's go to the original 100 BPM that we did in week 2, as sampled. So, put your metronome back to 100 BPM, and then practice along with my singing. And I'll give a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do 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 do. There you go. That's with half notes, and now we do quarter notes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do 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 do. Excellent work. You can stop at any time, any place, to just keep on repeating this scale over and over again. Even go as high as possible with 125 BPM, but that's up to you. This entire week's lesson is just to practice the G scale and practice each and every note that will be considered for just regular music. The G major scale I picked for this specific reason I picked is because it's such a basic scale. And with this basic scale, we know how to do most or all of the specific music that a lot of people use. Now, for next week, we are going to discuss about G scale warm-ups and regular warm-ups for music, not just for warming up your fingers and body. Thank you so much for watching this week's introduction for saxophones, and I'll see you next week.